Yeah, we've got 70 people here visiting us virtually. Yeah, thanks to everybody here virtually, and thanks everybody for coming out here today. And just to introduce myself, my name is Josh Meredith. I'm a cloud solution architect for Microsoft. I've been designated to the state of North Carolina for over 5 years now. I've worked in a background of Microsoft Teams, cybersecurity. I've done a lot of your security optimization assessments, working with DIT and working with the multitude of different agencies that are on the DIT tenant. So I've worked a lot in cybersecurity. I come from a place of purview and data protection. And now I am a Copilot CSA, primarily M365 Copilot. Really, my job is just to help customers crush their business objectives using AI. And so I'm from Austin, Texas. I love jet surfing. I have a motorized surfboard that I use on Lake Austin a lot. I also love smoking barbecue. That's a picture of my dad, my son. I love being in the ocean. I love being in the water. And so, did it not change?
No.
Okay, hold on a second. Thanks for pointing that out. Okay, I have to control it here. That's odd. Hold on a second. Give me just a second. Word. Okay, there we go. All right, sorry about that. And yeah, so my goal and what I'm here to do is to help government agencies crush their business objectives using Copilot, using AI, using Microsoft 365. Today we're going to talk about Copilot in Microsoft Word. We're going to do some prompting recaps here, just to kind of get a show of hands. How many of you have used any kind of AI tool at all? Like show of hands. See virtually. Okay. How many of you have a Copilot license? 365 Copilot. Okay. So some of the stuff we're going to do, like for those of you who do have a Copilot license, I think you guys have purchased, I don't know, 511 or so last I checked throughout the state. But some of the stuff that we'll be doing is I'm going to have you prompt. So some of you that do have Copilot, there is some portion that's interactive. But 75% of people are already using AI tools. Today we're going to talk about some prompting. We'll also do some practice here in Copilot in Word. I'm also going to do a demonstration, and so really we call it an art of possible, but the idea is what I want you guys to do is think about what is my use case. What's my use case? Every role has its own use case, and so with a large language model, the amount of use cases is infinite. It's infinite. People are still discovering use cases. And so the biggest question and challenge that I get from a lot of my customers is like, I don't even know what my use case is. When it came to Teams, it was like, okay, the use case was having meetings, having chats, needing a space to collaborate. With AI, people will say, I don't even know what my use case is. So what I want you guys to do is when I'm showing you some of these different things that you can do with it, think about certain things that you can automate for yourself and think about what your use case is. We'll also do an overview. And then here at the end, we're going to have some Q&A. If you have any questions, any concerns, let me know. I'm happy to address that. In order for you guys to be able to adopt this tool and learn it, you really have to have your questions and your concerns addressed here as well. So learning how to prompt. In a prompt, you can use your own words. You can put Copilot to work. It's a large language model. You can have a conversation. this really represents a lot of the key components of prompt engineering. So with those of you who have used AI tools, how many of you have used an AI tool where you have to use a prompt of some kind? Raise your hand. So, okay. Anyone notice that if your prompt's a little too vague, you don't get the output that you want, right? You have to be very specific. The way AI works is the more specific you are with your objective, the better it's going to be. You want to tell it what your goal is. What is it that you want to accomplish, right? That's the first thing. I need to do this thing. I have this report I have to give to my supervisor. I have to create this policy that does this. We see a lot of in public sector, there's a lot of use cases where you have to generate reports. You have to generate statutes, right? Policies. You got to generate, SOPs, training material. All these different, if these kind of scenarios apply to you, then think about how you can use Copilot to help automate this, to speed it up. But you do want to start off by saying, what is it that I want to accomplish? Also, the why or the how. Copilot, large language models are very good at understanding context. Why do you need to accomplish the thing? Who is your audience? Is my audience my colleagues? Is it senior leadership? Is it the people that report to me? Is it the general public? You want to tell it who your audience is. Who is this for? Also, where. So Copilot uses retrieval augmented generation, and so that's a way where it's going to try to find, if you're vague about what your resources are, it's going to try to find it. But the more specific that you are with your resources or with the material, then the better your output is going to be. And I'm going to show you some of that here with the demo as well. And then you can also say, how do I need it? What format does it need to be in? Does it need to be, what is the tone, right? Is it a professional tone? Is it a casual tone? Does it need to be in a table? Does it need to be bullet points? All of those different things are things that you can put within your prompt and format things in the way that you want. It might be that maybe you have a certain policy and it needs to apply to a certain template, right? You can tell it within your prompt what the template that you're basing something out of. Maybe you have SOPs and they are based on a certain template. So the format and the expectation are also very key as well. I love this slide because this slide is like a really good way of trying to educate users on making the killer prompt. In some cases, you're going to use multiple prompts to actually accomplish the task that you want to have. But you want to think about all these different things. A lot of times when people start using AI tools, they just they're very vague, when you're at the beginning stages. But as you level up, you want to think about the different, these different components of Copilot, right? Or of a prompt. And so think about the goal, right? First starting off, what is it that you want to accomplish? What is it that you want AI or Copilot to give you? And then what is the context? Why do you need it? Why is this important? And the more detailed you are with the context, it could be a particular problem that you're trying to overcome. A lot of times in government and public sector, there's a certain problem that you're having to overcome. And even like giving the context of what it is that you're trying to overcome will also help you get a better output as well. In this case, we're saying like generate 3 to 5 bullet points to prepare for this meeting with who is your audience. And then also giving it the source. In this case, we said focus on email and team chats. That's really pretty vague. What you can also do is you can put in quotes the subject of your email or the subject of your meeting. And some of the key things that I want you to take away from is that have a meeting, you can transcribe that meeting, and from that transcription, you can turn it into a project plan, you can turn it into a policy, you can turn it into an RFP, you can turn it into whatever type of document that you are actually trying to create. And so I want you to think about this type of collaboration. In this case, you're saying focus on this email, but you can tell it to focus on, you can tell it a specific file, you can type / and I'll show you how to do that. And then also, what's the expectation? In this case, we've got use simple language so I can get up to speed quickly. But whatever the type of output that you're wanting to do, you can give it that type of context, and this is what's going to really help you develop your what I call a killer prompt that's going to give you the output that you want to use. There's a lot of use cases that we have for Copilot for Word. I think only a couple of you have licenses, but you can, things like turn an outline or idea into text, right? When something is in a form of text, the more that you can use AI with it. Rewrite is awesome. Like, for one of the things we have to do, here at Microsoft, we have a thing called 1,000 words of awesomeness, and we have to take our success stories and reduce it to, 1,000 characters of awesomeness. We have to take all of our accomplishments that we've achieved in a quarter, or even in half of a year, in 2 quarters, and we have to shrink that down to 1,000 characters. And so I used Copilot to do that, and it was excellent at doing that. So being able to, if you have to make something more concise, I find that Copilot is able to do that. Not only can you do this in Word, you can do it in Outlook as well. So try with Word. One of my favorite things is just write something out and use Rewrite, and I'll show you guys how to do that. You can do things like add tables, format it. You can start a draft in Copilot if you want. If you just have an idea of something that you want to do, you can just start off a draft that way. Or the main thing I'm going to show you is creating a document from another document. That's probably what you're going to end up doing most of the time. You want something very accurate, and I think that's what you're going to get. And also adding content to, like, inspire me. You can a lot of the problems that we've seen within workplace are things like the blank page, right, where you have to generate some kind of content, and you've got to be able to it takes work to do that, right, to have that type of creative energy, especially when it's something such as like writing a policy, which is like, yeah, that's a lot of fun, right? So that using Copilot to help you with that generative ideation to get you started is great. You can do things like image creation is coming here this month, y'all. So you'll be able to do that in PowerPoint, but look for that this month. You'll be able to generate images in your PowerPoint in Word. You'll also be able to do it in Copilot chat as well. And then also formatting. Think about if there's a certain format that you have to do, think about what that format is, and you'll be able to do all those different things in Word here.
Excuse me, real quick. I think your colleague said something about some of the licenses being free. My agency has not paid an additional license for AI. Are any of these tools available to state agencies that have opted out of the AI license?
So Copilot chat will be available, but everything that I'm showing you here today, you'll need an M365 Copilot license for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm partially here to figure out, if I should advocate for us to get it. So.
For sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You should.
Well, I'm not convinced yet. So.
Okay. All right. Well. All right. I got work to do then. Is this moving?
Yep.
To go to the next slide. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, here's the Inspire Me button, which can just provide any kind, just giving you ideas. That's one of the things that we found with large language models, the ability to just give you an idea. To be honest, I think Copilot for Word is probably, there's so many use cases in public sector because you guys are constantly writing policies, writing reports, generating so much content that's in words. I think that Copilot for Word, or at least something, you're going to end up in Microsoft Word. You may start off in Copilot chat, you're going to start off in Teams, but in the end, you're probably going to end up in Word, and a lot of different, a lot of the documents that a lot of you guys are required to generate are going to be in Word as well. This is Rewrite, where you can just select text and rewrite it, and I'll show you guys I'll show you a demo of that here. Also using summarizing, right? How many of you deal with like really large documents, whether it's a policy, a statute, a research article, so the ability, this is so common, right? And the ability to not only summarize something, I just want to know what the heck is this about. Another pro tip, just go to a document, say, explain it like I'm 5. You ever get something really complicated, or 10, whatever, you know? And I find that that's really good in just like, okay, break this down for me. It's really excellent, and especially like, you know, I come from a technology background, and sometimes I see documentation I'm like, okay, explain what this is like I'm 5, and then now I can start there and actually build off of that, and that's a really big use case. Not only can you summarize in Word, you can summarize in all of on all Copilot places. So in Outlook, in chat, in PowerPoint, pretty much everywhere in M365 Copilot you can summarize something, but that's a very common use case. You can also add more context. So if additional things that you want to do, you can add additional prompts to help you generate even more content. And it's kind of hard for me to read this slide here. But other things like asking general knowledge of something, right? Like, let's say, you know, a real common use cases we see, it's like cities, you know, city governments have things like, or county governments have things like commissioner court transcripts that they need to ask questions to, or you have a policy that you need to ask a question to and see how does it relate to you. So one of the things I want you guys to do, and I'm going to go ahead, let me put this into the chat here. So for those of you who have an M365 Copilot license, go ahead and let me see, I'm going to put this into the chat here. And go ahead and run this prompt in your Copilot, and for those of you who have, in your Copilot. And in fact, I can go ahead and I'll run it here on mine. Oh, chat is turned off? Okay. So I'll show you guys, you can do this in Word here. I'll just kind of, just to illustrate this, But if you have a Copilot license, go ahead and follow along here. You can say, just create a training plan to help me adopt in Microsoft 365 Copilot, including daily activities. And so from here, it can go and generate that. But I would put it in the chat, but the chat is disabled. So I was hoping that I could put in my sample prompts in chat, but we can't do that. But here you can use Copilot to help you Copilot. Use it to help you find what prompts. You can even take your own job description and say, what are my use cases? But here we have a training plan. You can literally just generate your own training plan. And so once I'm done with it, then I can go ahead and insert this into Word. But for those of you who have a Copilot license, go ahead and try this. Try this right now.
Can you scroll back to the top to show us the prompt and repeat it?
Sure. Yeah, create a training plan to help me with adopting M365 Copilot, including a list of daily activities that I can do to help me build my Copilot in my daily routine. Now, if you do this, you can also run this in, you can do this here in chat as well. And if you're doing this in chat, and let me, hold on. If you're in work here as well, it will look at your job description and it'll know the things that you do, and it'll give you your own personalized training plan. So this is something that you guys can run, but let me go back to this particular prompt, and even any kind of variation of this prompt. Go ahead and try that, and you know, when we ask questions, I'm curious to know your feedback as how well that worked. Another one you can do is, go back to, is you can have it also give it a role. Say act as a rewriting expert. If one of the things I would encourage you to do is to rewrite something and a long document. For those of you that are dealing with any kind of particularly long document, and for those of you who have a Copilot license, go ahead and try to, if you have a long document in Word, go ahead and try this prompt right here. I'm going to, just for the sake of time here, go ahead and move on with my demo here. But I was going to put this into the chat just so that for people here to try. But just for the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and carry on into my demonstration here as well. So let's go ahead and get to the demo.
Just turn chat on.
Mm-hmm.
I just turned chat on.
Oh, you did?
See if
Okay.
you can get in there.
I can try it from mine here as well.
Oh, helps me.
Okay, so the first place that I want to start off with is Teams, and
Chat is working.
oh, it is, okay. So the first place is showing you Teams recap, right? So we had a meeting. This was actually a meeting that we had to plan for this meeting. And so one of the first things that I like to show customers is recap. So if I click on recap here, and I'll go ahead and put the recap over here, it's going to give me this recap of what went on in this particular meeting. And it's also going to give me my follow-up tasks here as well. One of the things that I can do is I can go ahead and open up Copilot here. And what I want to do, so I have this meeting. You have to turn on transcription. So when you have the meeting, make sure that you do turn on transcription. And what I want to do is I want to turn this meeting and I want to create a project plan from this particular meeting. So because of Copilot, I don't have to take notes. I just turn on transcription, and rather than try to build the plan right there, what I'm going to do, and I'm just copying and pasting my prompts just for the sake of time, is say create a detailed project plan based on this meeting with a Gantt chart and a detailed task list. And so now the idea that I want you guys to take away from this is this is just a project plan, but whatever it is that any kind of document, maybe you need to write a policy, maybe you need to write an SOP, maybe it's training materials for somebody. Any kind of document, you can just have a meeting. Maybe it's an RFP, maybe it's whatever it is for procurement. Like procurement is a big thing with government, where we're seeing that there's a lot of a need for automation and things like that. But something where it seems like it takes a really long time, you have a meeting, decisions are made, you just take that meeting, you can turn that into a project plan, and from that project plan, turn that into a PowerPoint presentation, present it to senior leadership. And so that's what I want you guys to think about, is think about what's a meeting that I could automate. I could turn this into some kind of document here. And so in this case, it's creating my project plan. And so it's going kind of slow. Now, another thing I want you to think about too is what I call Copilot pipeline. A lot of times things might start off in Teams, and then from there, it's going to go into Microsoft Word. You're going to add more prompts, you're going to add more content, and then from there, you're going to turn that Word document into a presentation to be presented to whoever your audience is. So think about these types of work cases or use cases. But here it's even creating a table that can be done in a Gantt chart. This could be put in Excel. This could be put into Planner. If y'all are interested, I'm doing the Planner, where I take this and I automate this and I turn this into a Planner in my Planner class. But normally, and again, this is a live demo, so some of this stuff I have
Really
already.
slow though. Usually it's like.
Yeah, it's going really slow right now. So.
Why don't you talk about the rest of the screen while you have it up there?
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is. What I can do is I can copy this. I can paste it into Word, and I think what I'm going to do is just use the history that I have here saved in here, because I've already got all these prompts in here saved already. But is it? It's almost done. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it into Word here. So anything that I can create, and I can generate this from chat. I can generate this from. So now I have this project plan. I'm pasting this into Word. I even have parts of it that are in that are already in a table format, and it could be something to where that I could put this into Excel. One of the best things I think is this feature to rewrite here. And so if I select text here, and then where's my Copilot button?
To the left, objective, right there.
So one of the things that I really love is auto rewrite. And the way that I use auto rewrite is like I will just write whatever I want, okay, out of my head, and I'll write it in Word, and then I select it and I do auto rewrite, and it just makes it sound more professional and more concise. And I'm just showing you guys this for the sake of demonstration, but you can just have it auto rewrite. And what's great is that it can, you know, sometimes I'll write something and it makes it sound more proficient. It makes it sound more professional when I do it. And so it's really good at when you're taking something that you've already, that comes from you, and then just rearranging the words to make it sound a lot more proficient. Oh, here we go. Okay, let me just try this again.
Way slower than normal. Like usually it's second.
Yeah, we probably are clipped by that. It's always like the Wi-Fi that affects it when you're doing something on site.
Now let's think. Can I ask you a question? If you're using the enterprise security, so this is like, and you haven't got web turned on, when it's rewriting it, it's pulling from all the texts that are in your, whatever the universe of documents you've given it. Is that right?
No, it's only referencing this one document.
It's rewriting that one document.
It's
based
just
on what
rewriting.
learned
It's
from
just
that one
rewriting the
document?
text that I highlighted.
But what's it drawing? What universe of information is it drawing from to create this new text? How did it learn what it's creating?
From the
your
large
enterprise?
language model.
From the model itself.
Yeah.
So it doesn't learn from your own data.
No, we don't train models. We don't train founders. You can't train them because GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer.
Okay.
You can't train a GPT.
Okay, so
It's
it's
already
using
trained.
some sort of generic.
It's
Tone.
GPT
It's a
4.0.
Yeah, it's a GPT 4.0 model that's within our data center, and that is within our that we took those models and we put them into Azure. And so it's using the large language model is what's helping to generate the ideas and the things that you're seeing, but it's a GPT, so it's not, we can't train it anymore. That's how.
All right. I was just curious because you said it puts it in a more professional tone, so I was wondering whose professional tone it's using.
Yeah, it's using the
Some generic.
it's using the large language model to actually generate this, and I don't know why this
It's
is.
based off of standard encyclopedia type information available to the world, dictionary. It's just terminology and stuff at that point.
So another feature that I want to show you guys, I don't know why auto rewrite didn't work, but is Get Coaching. And so what coaching is a feature where you can get a different perspective on something. So, you know, when you write something, like sometimes we're in our own head when we're writing, and it helps to just get a third party perspective on whatever it is that we're writing. And coaching is really a tool that can help with that. It's also an Outlook as well. I'm going to demonstrate that in my Outlook class that I'll be doing here today.
Can you zoom in on this?
It's not zooming in on the.
It's pop up.
So what coaching can do is like help give you guidance on some possible, it gives you feedback on things that you might want to add clarity to. It'll also give you feedback. So in this case, it's saying, you know, some tasks could benefit from additional details to ensure clarity and prevent misunderstandings. And it's going to, like in this case, ensure consistent language. And you may not use all of the ideas. The thing is with the generative AI is that it will give you ideas that you can use, and you may not use all of it, but some of these things can be helpful. And it's at least something to look at when it's like, if you think of it like your personal assistant, if you want to have an extra pair of eyeballs on something, you can use coaching to do that. And it's able to give you additional ideas. And for those of you who have a license and have like documents that you're working on, open up your document, go ahead and click on the coaching feature here and just see the type of feedback that it's going to give it to you. If I wanted to, I could apply this coaching if I wanted to, or maybe I just want to take the references and be like, okay, you know what, those were some really good ideas. Those are certain things that I could apply. In this case, I've got a really simple project plan here. Another thing that I can do also is I can select text and I can type in whatever I want to. I could say, write this in my voice, or I could say, make this more casual, make this more, make this casual. I can also put in a context or a situation. I could put in like, what is the problem that I'm trying to solve? And so I can select any bit of text. I can put in a prompt, and you put in the same thing that I was talking about with prompt engineering. You put in the context of what it is that you want to accomplish. And so here I can decide if I want to keep it, if I want to go ahead and replace it, or if I want to dump it. I can even also regenerate. If I don't really like the way that this looks, I can just regenerate over and over again. And I can change its tone. I can make something shorter. I can make something more formal. And you want to tell Copilot what it is, the type of document you're trying to do. I'm creating an SOP. I'm creating a policy. I am creating a contract. And so by telling it what type of document it is, it's going to be able to rewrite this, even reference this. And so you have the ability to do this in certain parts of the text, or you can do that for the entire document as well.
Josh, question from the audience is, if they only have Copilot Chat, will they be able to upload documents and do any of these things?
And so with Copilot Chat, in the initial release of it, you won't be able to upload, but our product managers told me it's going to be a fast follow. So within the next iteration that they have, which hopefully should be soon after that, you will be able to upload documents. They're limited to only 3 a day and 512 megabytes. So there are some limitations. If you want to do this with larger documents, then I would recommend to get an M365 Copilot license. And so, all right, so I have some documents here. Let me go back to it. And I put some documents from on my OneDrive. Is it going to my OneDrive? Oh, shoot. Okay, hold on. I gotta move this. Okay. So I have some documents here in OneDrive, and one of the things that I have here is an APS manual that I got from DHS. And a really common use case is that you have, you've got manuals like this, and a lot of times you're going to have people that are going to want to be able to summarize this manual. They maybe even have a conversation with this manual. You can do all this in Word. You can do this right here in OneDrive. It's the same thing right here as well. If I wanted to, I can select this, and if there's a certain part that I want to do, like in this case, I want to say, where's my mouse? Okay.
Can you do this in standalone browser mode or standalone app mode, or is it just in browser mode?
Repeat the question.
The question was, can you do this in browser mode or in the standalone app? Which standalone app?
Word.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, it was this was a PDF, and like converting this to Word, it just changes the format. So I just decided to show you guys here. But yeah, I could also, if I open this up in Word, I could also do this. In this case, I just want to summarize this one section of the APS manual. I want it to be in plain language. And so I have this information right here. Maybe I can also ask other types of questions as well. But yeah, all the things that I'm showing you here, you can do this in Word as well. Do you have a question?
Yes, similar to hers, I think. If you're not in a web browser, but you're on a static application that's downloaded to your device, maybe offline, like you have Microsoft Word installed on the device, but not open in a web browser, can you use the features of Copilot in that environment?
Okay, yeah, the question was, can you use Copilot offline? No. Good question. No, you got to be online. The document has to be in OneDrive. The document has to be in SharePoint or Teams. Then, because it's using cloud computing, right? It's not computing that document on your hard drive on your CPU. It's computing all this in the cloud. So if you guys have documents that you want to use Copilot on, that's on an on-prem file share, dump that file to OneDrive, dump that file to SharePoint. Now you can use Copilot. So in this case, I also let's see, I will summarize this section in plain language. Oh yes, I showed that here too as well. I could also, if I wanted to ask questions to it, I can do that also. And you can do this in Word. Like I say, list all the statutes referenced in the APS manual. I can ask questions on this document. A really common use case is going to be in your agencies. How many of you have in agencies have like customer service agents of some kind that work in your agency? Okay, a good amount of you. Yeah, this is a really common use case. Someone's on the phone, someone asks a question, you just type the question in your Copilot, and it's going to be able to reference whatever that particular document is and be able to give you the answer that way. This is still generating here, but I'm going to go ahead and just move on to my next demonstration here. But yes, you can just have a conversation with the document. You don't necessarily have to have to know everything within that particular document. Now, another thing that I'm going to do, let's say I have this manual and I need to create a training document for it. I can reference that document. I can say based on, and I'm going to do slash, and it's APS. Yeah, here we go. So I do slash, and I'm referencing this APS manual here. And let's say I just want to create like a quick reference guide based on this manual. Now, it could be a reference guide. It could be any kind of training material, but you can just reference this document just like this, and then put out the rest of your prompt. That prompt could be create a policy, generate a contract, generate an RFP, whatever it is. But you're taking this document, and now I'm just going to, in this case, create a quick reference guide. I need to create a training. Maybe I need to create onboard material because onboard training material for a new hire. You can do this very quickly and easily with Copilot. And these are the kind of use cases I want you to think about. I know this is kind of, specific and generic, but think about what is your use case? What is the thing you have to do? What is the challenge? What is the type of generative thing that you have to do within your in your role? And that you could have automated. Do you manage contracts? Do you create policies? Do you create training materials? These different things. Think about what is my use case, and if I want to, I can just go ahead and click insert here. And so now I have a now I'm creating a training document for the intake process, because I was only focusing on a specific section of that as well. Another thing, I know we're running here close on time. Another example that I want to show you, and I've got 5 minutes left, but I want to show you this real quick. A big use case that we see in government is what I call document delta, okay? And that's like, I have this contract. I need to make sure that this contract is compliant to this policy. I need to see how this statute or this bill is going to affect this SOP. How does this presidential executive order affect this policy? these are large use cases that we're seeing in government. These are what I call a document delta. So here I have two different documents. They're two different PDFs. And so they are that I got. So negative case payment accuracy rates per county. And let's say I just want to create a delta in between these two documents. But again, this is just for demonstration purposes. What I want you guys to think about is like, what's my use case? But if I go ahead and do a blank document here, and then I'm going to say, so just move over into Word here. And I'm going to say create a document that shows the detailed variance of each county between this document, and the first one is going to be my 3-11. So, and to do something like this, you can just use slash, okay, and then 3-11. Is that right? Oops. 03-11, sorry. So I can reference the 03-11 and then select this document here, and then between this document and slash 03-12. And then I can figure out, I can also put in other aspects of this particular prompt as well. I can say, I'm going to tell Copilot more of what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. And I'm going to say, outline which counties showed the most improvements from 311 compared to 312 and which decreased the most in accuracy rates. So by doing this, Copilot is going to compare these two different documents, and it's going to be able to find the differences in between these two documents. Now, this document takes a while to run, so rather than sitting here and run it just for the sake of time, I can go ahead and show it. Let's see, yeah, here it is. So this is like the output of the document right here. And so, but the different types of use cases that I want you to think about, do you need to compare the policy, like last year's policy to this year's policy? Do you need to compare do you need to check the compliance of a document? Maybe it's the compliance of a contract. Maybe it's a compliance of an RFP. Maybe it's the compliance of technical documentation. And so what you can do is you can compare these differences between these two documents really easy with Copilot for Word. And that's a really huge use case. So I want you to think about what is, do I have to reference these kinds of, a lot of things I get is like making sure this contract is compliant to this policy or this statute. And you can do that easily with Copilot and create what I call like a document delta document. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
How can I get that document from you? The document delta, or do you have, is that going to be sent to us, or is that your personal document?
This is just on my OneDrive, but yeah, sure, I could send you. I mean, it's public data. What I did is I think I used DHS, public data, and just took that document. I always use like the agency's public data to do all my demonstrations with. So yeah, it's public data. I could give it to you if it's something that you would find useful.
Yeah, I think I'll talk to you at the end.
Okay, all right, for sure. Let me check the chat here. I don't want to ignore the chat. Yeah, unless Sherry, you've got.
That's outstanding.
Oh, Sherry, you got the chat here.
Yeah.
Does anyone any questions, any concerns? Yes.
Yeah. Forgive me, I had a kid sleep, so I couldn't sleep last night. So I'm kind of new to the state agency, or at least my state agency, and so like what I'm hearing is a lot of your outputs will be based on the data that you have. Is that correct? That is in Microsoft.
It can, but it's also, there's a large learning model feature in there as well. So like you could tell Word like write a poem about kitty cats eating bacon, and it's going to write a poem about kitty cats eating bacon. So, and that's going to be actually based on what the large language model learned, right? But
Well, what about
Which
the agency data you're referencing?
Right.
yeah, this is what I'm showing you here.
That's cool. No, I totally get it because it's public, right?
Yeah.
I'm DAC, adult correction, so I deal with like a lot of information that's not to the public.
Yep, for sure.
So how does this incorporate with that kind of set or that format?
Depends.
Well, like we use this thing called, I'm learning it,
Yep.
called Opus, right?
Yep.
Oh my God, it's like DOS
Yep.
almost. So
Yep.
I don't know, but it has all this information. And like to me, like I'm a case manager, so I'm trying to make up plans for my offenders. So like, you know, when they get out, what classes they need to take to, you know, be a better person, all that kind of stuff. Like this would be great, but I feel like unfortunately I can't utilize.
There's different, I work for DIT.
Okay.
I'm Microsoft 365 Service Administrator for DIT.
Okay.
And Josh is talking about Office
Right.
applications, right? So let's just talk standard Microsoft 365 Office, and you have a Copilot license, you get to do all this cool stuff to any local file you have in your OneDrive and other things. But then there's a whole other set of features at a much larger level. Think SharePoint. And you want to build an agent for SharePoint. You want to be able to go scrape all of that data that only you have access to in SharePoint. And it's only going to, you could have access to 80 sites, but if you only have access to 50 files, you're only going to be able to scrape those 50 files because it's also privilege based.
Okay.
So yes, you could go scrape that data and pull that data in
Okay.
and build you all kind of cool stuff using it, using Copilot.
And this
So-
is awesome. Like,
Yeah, so for that use case, and I'm glad you brought that up, a lot of you are working with like some kind of tool that's not in Office 365, right? And the way that you're going to do it, and you're like, man, I really wish I could just use a Copilot to automate this process. What you're going to do is export it from whatever that tool is, maybe to PDF, and then you just dump it to OneDrive.
Okay.
And once it's in OneDrive, go to town. You know, then you can use Copilot.
That brings me to a question about what happens with the data once we put it into SharePoint. So if it's something like, in his case where it's maybe highly secure personal data, are we within our rights and our realm to put that information into SharePoint? This may be a question that you can answer.
You're still responsible for the end result data, right? So we can all go build a Power BI report. I can go build a manual report in Excel from data that I have access to as a federal or state government employee, right? What do I do with that report? I still have to follow the state instructions and compliance policies that says who should the audience be for this report. I just can't go throw it on a public website. So you still have to label your documents, right? Before you just go sharing it with your team is probably, okay, no brainer, right? Because you all have access to that data. But if you're trying to write a report that you may have to share with a different agency, do they have a right to that information? And DHHS is a perfect example because they deal with a lot of PII, right? A lot of HIPAA. You can't just build a report and throw it over to DAC.
But can you put it in SharePoint?
Yes, as
Yeah.
long as you control that data.
As long as the access control is correct, because with HIPAA, in your case, I don't know if it's CGIS data, I'm not sure, but the, you know,
So again, you're still
the-
responsible to understand the access to that SharePoint site.
Yep.
Right, you're the SharePoint owner, you're gonna drop that document, are you targeting the right audience for it? So again, at the end of the day, guys, it's no different than if you manually wrote a document. You're still responsible for who gets access to that document, right? You still gotta follow the standard compliance responsibilities.
and in OneDrive, only you have access to it, so you're fine.
And so it won't be shared from, this may be my technical limitations here, but it won't be shared, like, if we put on there a test or exam questions or things like that, it won't be automatically within the database, that it can be shared elsewhere. It's still maintained within Microsoft.
Yes.
Correct.
That is
And not
correct.
even Microsoft, in your
In our
space.
space.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
DIT, like safe space.
Thank you.